Hi, Lee. Welcome to our show.
Hello, Savannah. Nice to see you today.
Nice to see you, too.
Yes. How are you?
How does it feel knowing that we gave everyone from the subtext a bonus episode?
Oh, so good. So good. I hope that it just filled people with love and light on Valentine's Day.
I do, too.
Yeah.
I thought that you were about to say Thanksgiving.
Love and light.
Love and light.
What's the line? Live, laugh.
Love.
Live, laugh, love. I hope everyone lived, laughed, and loved on Valentine's Day.
Same.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, Lee, well, we haven't caught up lately on any pop culture vibes in terms of what you've been reading or watching. Anything new in the pipeline?
You know, I was so busy with the Winter Storm Fern with electricity and then just trying to catch up on life that we've not had much opportunity to intake much pop culture stuff. I did recently finish Edward Abbey's Desert Solitaire. Do you know Edward Abbey?
Mm-mm.
So he was a dear old cantankerous soul who loved the Southwest United States.
Nice.
And so he's got this book, Desert Solitaire, that's about the 2 summers. I think it was 2 summers that he spent as a volunteer park ranger in what is now Arches National Park, out right outside Moab,
That's
Utah.
cool. Yeah.
And but he's a fascinating guy. So anyway, just finished that. So that's pretty great.
Just about his experiences as a ranger?
Yeah, it's like just a memoir kind of thing about his experiences there. And so he's writing this in the 60s, 50s, 60s, before it's all become so commercialized in the national park. And he does this one canoe trip down one of the canyons that's now covered over because of a dam that was put up that nobody can visit anymore. And so just really fascinating stuff. Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I told you about Against the Machine by Paul Kingsnorth, right?
I think you did.
I just finished it. It took me a very long time. In it, he talks about Jacques Ellul. Whatever. Yeah. That name is just so much. But I just finished it. It took me so long. It was like pulling teeth. I really want you to read it because I need to hear your take on it, but I'm happy it's done. I don't know how else to say it. I'm happy I read it. I'm happy it's done. And now I'm onto a book called Theo of Golden by Alan Levy.
Yes.
I think it's his last name. Do you know that book?
I know the book. I've not read it. It's on my nightstand, and I once had dinner sitting next to Alan.
You're kidding.
No.
How?
Mutual friends wedding ceremony. Yeah, and so
pays to be famous.
We just happened to be sitting at the same table, and we had a very lovely talk. I think he was still working on the book at that point, and he told me a little bit about the fact that he has another career, but he had been writing on this for a long time and shared a little bit about it. So
I think it's his first book.
Yeah,
and it's a bestseller. So
apparently a huge seller.
Yeah, a guy at church recommended it to me, and I've already read like 100 pages in just a couple days. It's a very easy read.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
I look forward to reading it.
Any other drama that you're stirring up in your life?
Let's see. No.
Well, on that note, let's start the show. Welcome to the Subtext, where we go beneath the headlines and beyond the obvious. I'm Savannah Locke.
And I'm Lee C. Camp.
Hey, if you like what we're doing and want to help us get the show in front of more people, please do us a favor by following and rating it wherever you listen. If you leave us a review, we might read it on the show. Give us 5 stars, hype us up, and if you want to watch full episodes, you can find them on YouTube and Spotify. You can also follow the show at The Subtext Show, me at Savannah_Locke, and Lee at Lee C. Camp. Lastly, if you have any questions or suggestions for the show, just DM us on Instagram at The Subtext Show, and we'll get back to you. Today we're actually revisiting, really, an old friend.
An old friend.
Rather than starting something new.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, we did an episode called Celebrities Should Stay in Their Lane.
Yes, we did.
It is by far the most responded to episode that we have created.
Yeah, I heard from some people about it.
So many comments and messages and emails. And I wanted to start with an email that we got from a listener. And then I want to use her email to kind of leap.
Got it.
Off of. Into the sphere.
Yeah.
Because this continues to be relevant, because when we originally started ours, it was about the Golden Globes, about Mark Ruffalo speaking out about stuff in ice in Minnesota. But since then, we've also had the Grammys, where several people spoke out, from Billie Eilish to Bad Bunny to SZA, I believe, too. And then a lot of people have been writing different comments about this. Phineas, who is Billie Eilish's brother, responded to an article that was written on USA Today that the columnist said, this is the title of the column, which was amazing. PSA to celebs, stick to performing, stay away from politics. And Billie Eilish's brother responded to the USA Today post. So this is very much in the ether at the moment. So let's start with the email. This is from Jen. She said, on the most recent episode of The Subtext, which was at that point, Celebrities Should Stay in Their Lane, I think there's an aspect you didn't address in the Stay in Your Lane discussion about actors/influencers voicing their opinions. I think often the audience tells the prominent/visible people not to share their opinions because the audience does not want to have to confront a dilemma of appreciating the art or craft of a person they disagree with. This has been an issue for a long time. It's the classic debate of appreciating the art or work or words of someone who has now an unacceptable opinion or behavior. Think Woody Allen or several historical leaders who were also slaveholders. It's also been parts of discussions I've heard regarding the Philip Yancey disclosure. Like, what do we do with his books? But it has come to a head more recently because of two things, I suspect, and I want to talk about this. Social media, which allows those opinions and behaviors to be more prominently displayed and repeated. And secondly, as a culture, we are so tribal and siloed that we haven't had practice interacting with people who hold differing beliefs while still valuing other aspects of their humanity. How do we divide this up and conquer? Let's talk about it.
Wow, there's so many handles on the conversation there. That's I find that feedback very helpful and very insightful.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that what Jen said there about we have this dilemma, right? So that it's easier to tell an artist in this case just to keep your opinions about such and so to yourself because we like them. And then if they speak up about this, then we don't like that and we don't know what to do with that. And I find that really interesting. And I wonder if there's not something to that's driving some of this kind of stuff.
Have you had an experience with that before?
Well, I immediately went to, I think one of the things that academics does for you is that you get disabused very quickly of the notion that there's anyone out there that you're going to agree with everything they have to say.
Right.
And especially when you start doing stuff of a historical nature, you can read some stuff that you really find someone very compelling on, and then you start reading other things about their lives, of things that were historically accepted at that time that are utterly rejected in our day and age. And then all of a sudden you have that very dilemma that Jen's talking about, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is, for me, I started having to deal with this a long time ago in academic work. And so it's not something that takes me by surprise these days. It's like, well, of course there's something about this person that I don't like.
Always there's something that I disagree with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, but I think that we don't, generally speaking, a lot of people don't have practice at that, it seems. And when you live in a day and an age in which you can choose to be tribalized by the media that we use, then it becomes increasingly difficult to have opportunities to practice that. So yeah, I find that very helpful.
One important distinction that I thought was worth making is that when we were talking about celebrities staying in their lane, it was more celebrities sharing opinions that maybe some of their audience didn't agree with, which is not an inherently moral issue. Do you know what I mean? Where it's okay to disagree about some things. Versus when she shifted for me into like Woody Allen or like historical leaders who were slaveholders or even Philip Yancey, like that becomes more morally significant maybe than having a different opinion on politics. Now, there's nuance in this whole conversation, and I'm not going to go and try to do a bunch of qualifiers for myself. But I think that there is a difference between Mark Ruffalo saying, I'm concerned about what's happening in Minnesota and ICE, and Woody Allen being abusive to people. And there's like a difference in the seriousness of those things and whether or not I participate, at least for me, in watching their art or giving them money.
Maybe, but I don't know that I agree with you.
Okay, yeah, tell me why you don't agree.
Well,
Wow. I can't wait.
Well, but I mean, think about the. I mean, what Mark Ruffalo is talking about is the fact that a mother was shot dead in her minivan.
That's
right?
where the nuance comes in. Yes.
Yeah, and that another young man who had been concerned about other people being hurt, physically harmed and hurt by the federal officials, went into those situations to try to protect those people, and he got himself killed.
Yes.
And so those are very, very serious circumstances. And but even if it weren't that serious, I think that we tend a lot of times to use the language of morality and presume that's a really clear silo. I tend to think that even the word ethics, even though I'm a professor of ethics, I tend to think that's not a very helpful category for thought. And instead, everything that you're doing carries with it an ethic. There is no certain things that are pertaining to ethics and other things that are not pertaining to ethics. Everything pertains to ethics. Everything pertains to morals. And so I think I will also kind of push back on the fuzziness of those categories as well.
I still think I might agree with myself here.
Okay, good. Go for it.
Okay, so here's where this is hitting me is I agree with Marco in the horrificness of what happened to both Renee Good and Alex Preddy. So I am not saying that that is not serious at all. So let me use a different example. For someone like Sydney Sweeney, do you know Sydney Sweeney?
No.
Okay, great. I'm not even going to explain her to you. She's a very big celebrity. She has opted, despite several repeated instances in which she could have been vocal about her opinions around politics or human rights, potentially for the good, she has opted not to do that. And she has said, it's not my job to be political. Okay. I wish that she, in my personal opinion, she had an amazing opportunity to stand up and be vocal because she does have a lot of a platform. That being said, she just released a movie that came out with Amanda Seyfried, and I went and saw it. Why? Because despite the fact that I disagree with her and I wish that she had done better, in my opinion, I still can separate that from seeing the movie The Housemaid. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Versus if someone was very abusive, or it was found out that they were sexually abusive towards a kid or something like that, I wouldn't see their stuff anymore and I wouldn't support them financially. And so for me, there is a spectrum of seriousness with which I disagree with someone. And for me, I'm using the language of moral weight, but maybe that's not the best language. That I do think that there's a way in which it's I have to be okay with holding tension in some areas, but then in other ones I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I think the word you chose to use there, spectrum, is very helpful.
Okay.
There's a spectrum of seriousness rather than them being qualitatively different.
Yeah. I agree.
Right. And so even who did you say the actress was?
Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney.
Oh my God, it's so funny hearing you say
Just be quiet about it. Miss Sweeney saying, I'm going to choose not to be political. Well, that is a political choice.
It is.
There is, that's a political choice. When you, and so again, it's a spectrum, right? Now, again, as we talked about, I think maybe even on the Ruffalo episode, in my mind, the choice is not, am I going to be political or not? I don't have a choice about that. Yes. I'm being political.
Yes.
Right now.
Right.
All the time. The question is not, am I going to take ethics seriously in thinking about X, Y, or Z? Well, yeah, I better be. And if not, you got some problems. Instead, the question is always one of prudence. And somebody might make a choice not to speak out on a given topic at a given time because of an issue of prudence. And that I have respect for. But to say, I'm not going to be political, well, you haven't understood politics.
Yes, I agree with that. And I do wish Sydney would listen to this episode.
I wish she would too.
And listen to that vibe.
Sydney, let me know.
Yes, let Lee know, Sydney. But do you hear what I'm saying, where there are degrees that we're dealing with here that no matter what we do, and we've talked about this from early episodes, every time we spend $1, we're spending it on companies and organizations and people that don't agree with us.
Right.
And that support things that we probably disagree with.
Yeah.
And so there's no purism when it comes to this.
Exactly.
But what we're trying to do here is just wrestle with the reality of, when does the line get crossed for each of us, and how might we be able to think better about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the first thing I noticed. My second one, observation around this that I want to hear your thoughts around, is how do we reckon with people who have unacceptable behavior, past or present?
How do we deal with them?
What do we do with them? No, maybe as it relates to our support or withdrawal of support of their work, of their art,
Yeah.
etc.
What do you think?
I am not consistent. And that's what this thinking through this email has made me realize is I'm not consistent in this area. So I will give you a real life example.
Okay.
Do you know the podcaster Andrew Huberman?
Yes.
Okay, he has this very big podcast.
Right.
I listened for the first few years of his show.
Yeah. I've learned a lot of things from him through the years.
Same. Yeah. Really helpful. And then this big expose came out about his mistreatment of various women. And when I read the article, for me, I was like, I'm not going to support him anymore. And what that for me was doing was saying, I have alternate places I can get the same information. And I want him to feel that if he doesn't take ownership over this, that some people care about that and that matters. So I didn't make like a stink. I didn't post on social media, don't listen to Drew Huberman. But for me, I just stopped listening and moved on with my life. Okay, but then I'm going to show how I'm a hypocrite, okay? You know the F1 movie that came out?
Mm-hmm.
It was so good.
I watched it.
Same.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt, on my way to go see the
Sweeney
F1 movie.
Was not in it.
Sydney Sweeney was not in it. On my way to go see the F1 movie, one of my friends texted me, what are you doing? I'm going to see F1. And they said, well, don't you know that Brad Pitt was alleged to have thrown something at Angelina Jolie when they were married, and that he apparently did like really harmful things towards Angelina and potentially one of the kids. And I was like, no, I didn't know that. And I still went and saw the movie. And I really liked it. I am inconsistent, and I don't know why those things are different. And that will be my statement for today.
Do you think those are different?
They feel different. My response was different.
Yeah, I mean, clearly your response was different, but do you find a moral qualitative difference between those two scenarios?
I think it would be a lot easier if I said that I didn't go see the Brad Pitt movie, because then I could be like,
yeah, I
don't support these men who are doing bad things. But I did.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
I am not interested in judging your decision about whether to go see that movie.
Oh, I don't need you to judge me. Yeah. Just what are you thinking through your own?
Well, I think that it's I think that if we're looking for one simple universal principle with regard to these kinds of scenarios, that will be hard to find. But instead, I'm sorry to keep beating this drum, but I think that it always goes back to
prudence.
And clearly, as hopefully people who are still listening with us and through these episodes knows, we don't mean by that some sort of moralistic, I'm going to keep my hands clean kind of thing. But instead, there are lots of reasons that we make certain decisions about what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. And it's often tricky. And so we do the best we can. At our best, we do the best we can after having considered a lot of things. And then the second thing I guess I would say is that you noted that I guess it was Jen in the email that she wrote in raised Philip Yancey.
Yes.
Who, for those of you who are unaware of this very public matter, but Yancey, very highly read Christian writer of the 20th century, early 21st century, just came out in the last couple of months or so and admitted to I think 7-year-long affair, and then took down all of his socials and said, I won't be speaking in public anymore and writing and so forth. And so a lot of people are asking, okay, well, do we still read his books? And I would say, well, that's a good question to ask. But I think that we all, whether to read anyone's book is always potentially a fraught question, because we're all riddled with our troubles, and none of us are perfect, and our failings are all on a spectrum, right? And so there's not a simple qualitative categorical answer to those kinds of questions, I don't think. But to ask, how are we reading? Why are we reading? And what can we learn about what someone has written in light of some sort of significant failure that has come out, right? And you can and I'll say that this conversation is personal for me in the sense that, one of my professors, this kind of conversation was had about one of my professors from whom I learned a great deal. And when stuff came out in full, even after he died, and I was still learning stuff after he died, and I've grieved it for a long time, because he was very important. And so I think from my perspective in that regard, it's like a lot of times these questions are very personal and very painful of how to know what you're going to do with it all. But even if it's not personal, you can still ask the question, okay, so if I'm going to read this because there are certain things that I could learn from this person that I don't know that I can learn elsewhere, what do the failings tell you?
Yeah.
And the failings might tell you, well, what has been overlooked in this person's work? What were they not as open about as maybe if they had been more open about X, Y, or Z, then maybe they might not have fallen into this particular trap. We all ought to always read with discernment, and this just ups the ante for the kind of discernment that we might need to have. And it also invites us to the possibility of saying, oh, I'm going to go somewhere else and look for something else somewhere else.
Has there ever been anything, whether it's in your theological studies or just in your media intake in general, that has been decisive enough for you to say, okay, look, I'm not going to spend my money there, or I'm not going to watch that person's stuff anymore or listen? Like, can you think of anything that has caused you to kind of be more clear around your disengagement?
I'm immediately thinking of a person who I've learned some things from, and yet this person's social media presence was so constantly critical and constantly sarcastic that I just got to the place of where I thought I think I'm done now.
Yeah.
And just let it alone. So that's like one of the most immediate, obvious examples that occurs to me.
That makes sense, because it's what's that showing is like the fruit that's being produced from that way of thinking. And you're seeing the end game of that and saying, okay, I might not want to be shaped in that direction.
Yeah. And even still, I mean, you can look at some of the Hebrew prophets say, and I don't know that all of them would have been great friends to have. I know. And I laugh, my wife Laura reads the Bible a whole lot more than I do, and she has this, she does not like the Apostle Paul. And I'm going to love watching Laura talk to Paul in the resurrection. It's going to be a delight, because she can stand on her own 2 feet and go toe-to-toe with Paul. Yeah. And she'll be quoting some of the Bible back to Paul. It'll be lovely to watch.
Yes.
And so I don't know that Paul would be very fun to have as a friend and as somebody that I'd want to hang out with a whole lot. And I tend to think I'd get along better with James. And but I don't know.
Whoever wrote First John.
But yeah, that's right. And so, but there are things to learn there, right? And things that are indispensably important to us to learn from those Hebrew prophets or the Apostle Paul. So I don't know. Again, it's just a lot of discernment, I think.
So for you, there's not necessarily and I knew with you and with me, there's not going to be like a hard and fast rule. This is when it's bad. This is when it's okay. But I was curious for you if there's any even process of that, or is it just case by case as the time comes? Does it matter if people are dead or living, for example?
For me, it's just always been case by case. Yeah, I haven't come up with any hard and fast rule for myself about this. And I think a lot of times, I've used the old line about take what you can use and leave the rest. And I think that's helped me a lot of times too. I wrote a chapter in my dissertation on Leo Tolstoy, and I learned a lot from writing that chapter on Leo Tolstoy from Leo Tolstoy. But he was an acutely unhappy human being. Yeah. And he had an acutely toxic relationship, it appears, with his wife. And so I kind of think about, I think about that when I read some of his stuff, right? Because I'm thinking he didn't get to a place of where he was able, it appears, to find a sort of joy, even when you're, because he does this sort of prophetic indictment of especially nationalistic, imperialistic Christianity that is just devastatingly good. Yeah. And so we have him to thank for that. And at the same time, I would also hope to be able to find people who can do that sort of critique while also finding some sort of joy in the work that they are doing and the life that they have been given to live. And so Tolstoy doesn't help me with that, right? And so there are things that he's going to help me with, and other things he's not going to help me with. And so I haven't continued to read him a lot in the subsequent decades. But there are certain books that I know of that if I ever need something on X, Y, and Z, I know where I'm going to go, right? I'll still go back to him, but I'm not continuing to read him because there are other parts about his work that I don't find compelling.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And just being, I guess, aware of their own lives when applicable and the type of fruit it really created for the people around them. Yeah, I think that's all really good. Let's talk about Jen's last point on her email, which is that social media exacerbates this and that we are siloed so intensely that we avoid interacting with people who disagree. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree.
Jen, basically you should be on the show and be my new co-host. Let's kick Lee out. Let's do 2 women and it's over. I was listening to a podcast. Do you know who Sean Ryan is?
No.
Sean Ryan is he has the number 5 top listened to podcast in the world.
Really? What's the name of his podcast?
I think it's just called The Sean Ryan Show.
Okay.
He's from Franklin, or he lives in Franklin.
Huh.
He is a military veteran and interviews like a lot of other military veterans and is very politically activated and conservative leaning. Okay. He had Hunter Biden on his show for a 4.5-hour long conversation. Wow. I listened to all 4.5 hours. And when they were talking, there were a couple of moments that it got heated for sure, but it was so respectful and engaging and calm. And I thought, I would love to have more, I would love to listen to more of these examples. To see ways that people can get in there, be honest about where they disagree, but then work really hard to find areas of agreement, which Sharon McMahon said in the No Small Endeavor live show this past year, that a lot of our work right now needs to be around finding places of agreement with each other. And I thought that they modeled that really well in the show.
Yeah, that's very compelling.
Because they are legitimately on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
In practically every way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think looking for that, it's hard work to look for that. And I think because we're so fearful of retaliation that we keep ourselves from leaning into that. Whereas in maybe earlier decades, there wasn't this sort of immediate internal censor because you weren't so afraid that obviously you're going to get lashed out at if you voice a competing claim. And and that's one of the things that at least anecdotally has been discussed among professors about college students is that there seems to be less willingness to voice a contentious idea in the classroom because, people have their phones with them and they can post something on social media about you and take a video of you. And so people just oftentimes will sit back and just are not going to share.
The stakes feel higher.
The stakes feel higher. And so I have a lot of sympathy for that and understand why people would be reticent about that. But I do think that finding places where we can do it, we're just going to have to find it.
Yeah, they talked about that on the show of why it might feel so costly to get in there and have conversations with people who disagree. And something it reminded me of was the movie You've Got Mail. Have you seen that movie?
Is that Meg Ryan?
And Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
It's from the 90s, I think.
Yeah,
early 2000s.
I think I did see that, but I don't remember any of the storyline.
The storyline is that she is a small bookstore owner, and he owns something called Fox Books, which is like Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
And her store is called The Shop Around the Corner. And across the street from her store is being built this ginormous bookstore that's going to make hers go out of business. And what they don't realize is that they are email buddies who are falling in love with each other behind the scenes while they're emailing back and forth to each other. And this is why it reminded me of that. They end up meeting in real life, and Meg Ryan does not know that Tom Hanks is her email buddy. She just sees him as the guy who owns Fox Books. And Tom Hanks knows that they're email buddies. And in this conversation, Meg Ryan basically says something to the effect of, the person I'm here to meet is nothing like you. He's kind, he's compassionate, he's well-read, and he would never treat me like that. And she looks at him and says, you're just a suit. And he said, at that, he got up and left. And it made me realize that social media has functioned as that, I think, for a lot of ways where we encapsulate people based on a certain experience of them and don't actually have the chance to get to know them in real life.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much we miss when we've crystallized people in certain places.
Yeah.
Instead of getting to see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Just when the winter storm hit, someone was talking to me about how good his neighbors were being to him and how helpful they were. And he referred to the fact of how fundamentally different they were politically. And he said, and yet they're here showing up for me and helping me. And so that for him, that was just a reminder of you cannot reduce somebody to one given thing.
Yeah.
And that we are all multifaceted human beings, and we need to try to see the multiple facets of people.
If you read Against the Machine by Paul Kingsnorth, one of the parts I enjoyed the most was this part, which maybe Jacques has talked about, but he was writing before phones existed, right? Or social media, certainly. But in Against the Machine, he talks about how we're all being shaped so much by this thing that we're plugged into constantly that we're not even getting to meet each other human to human anymore. It's machine to machine. It's like a machine version meeting another machine version.
Yeah.
Rather than having the experience of a neighbor going and helping.
Right.
Like even the fact that your neighbor said, this is not an indictment because I would be feeling the same way. Even the fact that your neighbor said, we disagree politically. Like I'm so curious if any of that was shaped by any sort of online discourse that was not like face to face.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It does seem that working to meet real human needs is certainly a way that can break down some of that. And
Agreed.
When you're dealing with some desperate need of body, soul, and spirit, that you can find some areas of agreement and try to tend to one another.
Yes. Or like in You've Got Mail, just falling in love.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That'll break down the barrier real quick, won't it?
Yes. Or it will at least make for a very interesting marriage.
Yes. Thank you, Tom Hanks and Meg
Yes.
Ryan.
And thank you, Jen, for the great email.
Literally 10 out of 10 behavior. Thank you for doing my job and writing this brief for me.